If you're running a retail business, don't let disorganized order fulfillment cause chaos. Use ShipStation instead. From running a business out of your garage to multiple warehouses, ShipStation is ideal for every phase of your growth. Save time with one login for all your stores and by automating tasks. Plus, you'll get the best shipping rates from global carriers. Calm the chaos with the shipping software that delivers. Start a free trial at shipstation.com/audio. That's shipstation.com/audio.
This country was built on a distinctly American work ethic, but today, work is in trouble. We've outsourced most of our manufacturing to other countries, and with that, we sent away good jobs and diminished our capability to make things. American Giant is a clothing company that's pushing back against this tide. They make a variety of high-quality clothing and activewear, like sweatshirts, jeans, dresses, jackets, and so much more. All made right here in the USA, from growing the cotton and adding the final touches. So when you buy American Giant, you create jobs for seamsters, cutters, and factory workers in towns and cities across the United States. And it's about more than an income. Jobs bring pride, purpose. They stitch people together. If all that sounds good to you, visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order when you use code STAPLE20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with promo code STAPLE20.
A lot of people are realizing that maybe their health is more important. Can't just, eat McDonald's and drink Mountain Dew and go, get a pain pill from the doctor and everything's going to be better. Like, that's not the reality of our society. And I think people are opening their eyes to that. And people who I never thought would be interested in PMF are.
Welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel, and on this show we explore the survivor's journey, practitioners making a difference, and the therapeutic treatments and transformational technology that allow the body to heal itself. Witness the inspiration we gain by navigating the human experience with grace, humility, and a healthy dose of mistakes. Because part of being human is being beautifully broken. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I'm here with Alane Paulley from Magna Wave. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you're here. So we're going to talk about pulsed electromagnetic fields, which you've talked about before. We're going to also talk about horses, and we are going to talk about the joy of falling in love with your work.
Yes.
So, Alane, can you tell us a little bit about your company and actually how you found your way into what is a family business?
Yeah. So actually, Michael Davis, who you interviewed before, was, my dad was introduced to Michael Davis, and it really was crazy because my mom had fallen and had this back pain that was really severe. She couldn't reach her hand over her head. And they went to this conference, and another friend of Michael's, Jerry, was there, and Jerry had this PMF machine, and he pulled my mom up on stage and did a 5-minute session on her, and my mom's arm was better. And, these machines were especially not cheap back then, right? I mean, this was like 15 years ago. And when they left the conference, my mom's in the car and she looks at my dad. She goes, "What'd you think about that machine?" And he goes, "I loved it. It's so great." And she goes, "Good, because I bought one." And my dad was like, "Wait, what?" And so my dad fell in love with it too. It changed my mom's life, like her ability to work. And when my dad believes in something, he's very charismatic and he's very genuine person. And so he went out, he had a horse background. And so he said, "You know what, let's go treat some horses with this. Let's check it out if it works great for us." So he went out and started treating horses on the backside of the racetrack here in Louisville. And then he flew out to California. He had some really, really big horses that he began treating. And the results were amazing because there's no placebo effect. So when they couldn't switch leads, when they were limping, he would do one session and within, right in front of a trainer or an owner's eyes, the horse would start switching leads, would start feeling better. Like you could literally see the results so quickly. And to a lot of people at first, he was the voodoo man, and they, my parents sold their house, bought an RV and spent 5 years on the road traveling to racetracks and shows all across the country. And this was like my senior year of high school into my time in college. They were gone. And so they came back when I graduated from school and had a daughter. Got married. They decided to come home and be with their grandkids. And my dad was running this company from his home and he was stressed. And I had began working at a television station. I was a producer at the NBC affiliate here in Louisville, Wave 3, for about 7 years. And I was stressed, and it was toxic because of the death and destruction, and just everything that I was reporting and I was around every day was negative. So I was talking to my parents about this, and my dad was at the same time over dinner. I'll never forget it. The three of us were sitting at the table. My husband had the kids, and we were talking, and my mom says, you both are sitting here saying that you're both stressed and you both need help, and you want to get out of your environment. We need help. And we decided that I was going to join on and work with them. And it was very scary, but we were selling 4 machines a month at that time, or trying to. And I knew that we had to maintain that to keep paying me so I could eat. So it became a act of love. Like, we just started really working together when I was able to support my dad and share these stories on social media. We didn't really have a web presence. We didn't have a website. So I just started really kind of putting all that together and taking his vision and making it happen, because he was always kind of in the weeds trying to keep up and make sure people were educated. And he was able to start the first PMF certification program. And so that is like a train where we started training people from start to finish on horses. And that was our beginning. So we started really training them on how to use the machine, what to look for when treating horses, basically how to read the machine and understand where the areas of sensitivity were to get the best results from what he'd learned from 5 years on the road. And at the time, there was probably a dozen machines in the United States. So they're like on horses. That was it.
Yes.
And he had sold 12 or 15 machines in the United States to horse people. So we really put together this training to make sure that what they were doing it right, which is important.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing. I want to unpack like 5 things that you said in there. Now, you said your dad was traveling around in this RV.
Yeah.
Kind of servicing horses. I mean, he must have worked with some pretty amazing animals in the circus. Yeah. Probably maybe some horses that were in the Derby or the Triple Crown.
Yeah. Lava Man was his first big horse. Lava Man. And then, the Derby, he would go to Churchill Downs and treat. There was years we were treating every single horse on the Derby. Wow. Right now, I know that we have at least 8 horses of machine owners that are in the Derby right now. Magna Wave is working specifically with Greg Foley with Racing Major Fed. Greg Foley and his team, the Foley Racing Stables, have had a Magna Wave for about 2 or 3 years. And at first, this is a funny story. The Foleys, I went out to dinner with Travis Foley and me and my husband and his girlfriend at the time. And he looked at me and was like, that is the biggest snake oil junk I've ever heard, this Magna Wave. And I'm like, oh, thanks. It's just my career. But yeah, it's nice to meet you too. And he just did not believe in it. About a year later, I had come out to his barn a few times, and then he calls me. He's like, you know what? It works. I want one. And so he was like the biggest non-believer to now he's got a horse in the Derby, and we work together pretty closely with his horses. So
that's incredible.
And my dad has worked with major horses and lots of trainers and owners. He even went to Dubai. He flew over to Dubai and treated a whole bunch of horses over there and sold to some sheiks and stuff, which was pretty cool as well.
It's incredible. And, like you said, there is no placebo in an animal that you can tell right away. So what are some of the big shifts that you see working with an animal of that size after they get a Magna Wave treatment?
I think the biggest thing is a lot of times they will colic or tie up. I don't know if you've ever heard about this, but it's when their intestine. Yes. Okay. You have, obviously. You're a horse person. And so I think the biggest shift that I have seen is whenever a vet has come in and say, you need to put this horse down. And a lot of times they'll call us and say, we don't recommend doing a treatment whenever it's a life or death situation unless you're talking with a vet. Most of the time, whenever they start using it, they're desperate. The horse is going to die. They're not standing up. They're not going to the bathroom. And so whenever we started really working with those animals, it was amazing because in the morning, they were going to die, right? They hadn't gotten up off the floor of their stall. And then by the afternoon, they're in the field eating and they've passed a bowel movement. Like watching the transformation, people have been in tears because that is such a huge, now obviously I'm not saying that's going to work every time. There are times you have to have surgery for colic, but there are also times where they just cannot fix the problem. And one of the big ones was Dallas Keene and his wife had a horse that was colicked 2 or 3 times, and we started treating this horse, and it went on to win like $1 million in graded stakes races.
Wow.
And so it was unbelievable. They didn't think it was going to live, let alone go on to have a career in racing. So that's huge. A lot of times with dogs, it's been pretty amazing, specifically with like depression and dogs that struggle with walking, like hip dysplasia, any of those issues where they struggle to get up steps or, their legs start going out. I've seen a lot of where the dog can't walk. The dog is having a really bad quality of life. And they're told that they have to do these major surgeries. And then they go to a vet like Dr. Marty Goldstein, who has one of our machines. And if you get the body healthy again, a lot of times it can heal itself. Mm-hmm. So what we see with dogs is that once you really start getting the body healthy, a lot of these injuries that require surgery don't really require surgery. And so what we've done is these dogs that, again, can't walk or they're depressed and they're sad, get up and are shaking their tail after a treatment. It's just really great to see because, like you said, they go from nothing and all of a sudden it's so much better. And it needs maintenance. I liked what Michael Davis said on your last webinar about PMF, where he said, you don't just brush your teeth whenever you have a cavity, you brush your teeth all the time to maintain your wellness, right? And keep your mouth healthy and your body healthy. And I think that's exactly the idea. A lot of times people come to us with their animals when they're really hurt or really sick, and they should be starting from day one with their animals, treating them just daily, weekly, even monthly. Keep them on a wellness regimen because you're going to stop some of those really big issues from ever starting.
Yeah, I would like to even unpack that a little bit about dogs. Do you know, is there a range of like intensity or Gauss that would be different, like working with a dog versus a horse? Is there generally like a range that to be efficacious?
Okay, so what I've found is that every single person and every single animal has a different tolerance for magnetic fields, okay? And even that can fluctuate from day to day. So what was comfortable for me yesterday on my machine at home, I can realize that some days I can turn it up much higher than that. So it's kind of the same way with animals. Based on what's going on in the body, if they're really sore, you don't want to turn it up very high. Yeah. And they'll let you know. I mean, animals, they're not going to sit there. A horse is not going to stand there if they're uncomfortable, right? We don't ever drug them. We don't have to give them any medicine. They will let you know immediately if they don't feel good. But what I have found with horses in particular is they take a lower tolerance to a magnetic field than humans and small animals do. So you really don't need a giant machine if you are just doing body sessions on a horse. Some of our smaller machines, the Semi 3, the Semi 5, the Soul, work fantastic on the body of the horse. The time where you need that extra, power is when you're doing those bone dense areas like the knees, the legs, the hooves. And that's the same for humans. When you're treating a fatty tissue area, you would take less of a magnetic field than you would if you're treating your knee, your foot, and the same on dogs. I've seen some dogs that I've been able to turn even the Max or the Pulse Pro all the way up. And then some of them can only tolerate a lower setting. So it really depends on the animal.
Amazing.
It all works.
Yeah. From my understanding and research, if you're organic tissue, part of the reason you're walking around being organic tissue is the fact that you benefit from a magnetic field. And what that's really happening on a small level is we're having cells are breathing, they're respirating, we're getting a better cellular voltage, we're getting a better sodium potassium ion exchange, and we're getting a better pH. So the smallest unit in the body is benefiting from this, and then as a result, the whole we're getting a really high yield, we're getting a high benefit.
Yeah.
Like you said, this trainer that was like, oh, this is woo-woo, magnets don't work, magnetic fields don't work, it's witchcraft. There's a magnetic field generated from the planet that we're all standing in and we benefit from. And it's funny, I'll watch my dog. It's not my dog, it's a loner dog, but I'll let Rosie out in the morning and she'll go for like a run. She'll run around the property and then she goes and she digs a hole in the earth and she'll lay in the dirt. And she just kind of does this. And she has about 4 spots that I'm like, she's grounding.
Yep.
You know what I mean? She's been inside all day. She hasn't been on the earth and she just knows what she needs to feel good and beneficial.
Yeah.
I want to pivot back to the horses. You said you can turn on the device and you can kind of go around and you can see what areas, I think you said spark or light up that might need attention from magnetic fields. Yeah. So a sensitivity area. So talk about that a little bit. That's really interesting to me.
Okay. So a lot of times the way that, like you were talking about organic matter, like I find that naturally the PMF, it's not really finding the sensitivity. It's the body pushes it where it needs to go. Does that make sense? Like your body recognizes these magnetic fields around you. And so same with the horse, like we put it on about what we would call a low to moderate setting when we treat a horse and we go down the horse like we are brushing it. Okay. And if you are on that low setting and you are brushing the horse and you're going around and you start seeing movement on a low setting, that is an area that has some sensitivity, meaning swelling. So a sound horse on that low setting should not have any movement. That horse will enjoy the session, but they won't have any of that movement.
Yeah.
Now you can turn the machine up high and always get movement. And that's a kind of a misnomer. People think, oh, you need to see movement all the time or the machine's not working. And that is absolutely 100% not true. What you want to do is use the power of the machine to find where those issues are. And then what you can really do, and it's so cool to watch, is you can put that coil on that area and kind of turn up the machine a little bit and watch that where the movement's literally the inflammation starts exiting. Like it's the movement slowly goes away and decreases. So you start, as you pull that inflammation out of that soft tissue area, the horse starts feeling better. They'll start releasing, you see them stretch really big. They love it. That muscle release, that soft tissue. So it's not really a diagnosing process. It's just help finding the areas that need more attention. And that's how we do in our training. We teach how to set the machine and almost read it like you would an x-ray. What is the machine telling me so that I know where to do my session? Because again, there are some PMF people out there that they work in regions on a horse. They say, put the coil on this region and then this region and this region and on this setting every time. Well, that's ridiculous because every horse is not going to do the same thing. Every treatment, it has to be targeted for that animal. That's the beauty of PMF, is that you have the ability to manipulate the strength and the comfort for that animal. So when we do that on a horse, it's great information to give to a doctor, to a vet, or to the trainer where those areas of sensitivity are. So Magna Wave, we have an app that has a horse on it. In our app, you can drop pins on the areas where you saw the sensitivity and write that and then email it directly from the app to the trainer or the vet and say, this is what the machine told me today. And then those, professionals can take that information and do with it what they will if they're looking to diagnose or find an area of swelling. So it's really amazing. And the horses, they love it. People think they see videos and they're like, oh my gosh, that horse must hate it. Or, wow, you're about to get kicked. And really the horses love it. They will actually move into you to push you where they want you to go.
Yeah, horses do not lie. They are not going to stand there and let you do anything that they are not a fan of. Just, coming from, I don't even know if I've ever mentioned this on podcast, but I grew up doing Western rodeo. Yeah. Randomly. Like it was just a weekend thing that we did. We packed up the horses in the trailer. We'd go up to the Adirondacks. We'd do barrel racing. My dad did team roping. We did breakaway calf roping. Oh, it was fascinating. Fascinating. And then I got to a point in high school where I just, it's not cool. Yeah. You're like, no, you can't wear the cowboy boots to school. And I just think we kind of faded away from it and we went into other things. But it was, I remember that, like you said, if we'd ride all day or would be riding really hard, or you always had to walk your horse, when we were done going through this bout of exercise, because the horse's intestine would twist or colic, like you'd say. Yeah. I always remember that was something of owning a horse that we had to do at the end of the day.
It works. If you were just do sessions, it won't do that either. So if you walk them and do a Magna Wave session, you could keep that colicking from ever happening instead of using the Magna Wave when it does happen.
Yeah. And is that a thing? Can you be doing a session? Do you have a long enough lead on the line where you could walk a horse and do
I think you could. I mean, we have a 12 foot and we do have extensions. So you absolutely could. A lot of times we will walk the horse and then right outside the barn, we have these called extra large wave wings. They're giant wings that literally the circles touch at the top. Okay. So it's two big circles and they touch at the top, which is excellent because you don't have any break in the magnetic field all the way around. It's longer than the saddle, goes all the way down. Sure. I mean, they're big enough. We've treated the Budweiser Clydesdales.
You've treated the Clydesdales.
Yes.
Amazing.
And really, it's about maintenance. You want to keep those big horses and all horses sound. I mean, we all want to feel better. And a lot of people overthink PMF and Magna Wave. They overthink it. They want exactly, like we talked about, they want exactly the right, what is the setting and where exactly do I put the coil for this indication? And it just doesn't work that way. And that's a lot of PMF companies have gone that route of just, we're just going to tell you this nonsense that this works for everybody. And it's just the wrong way to go about it. I mean, it would be easier for us to say, here's the indication here's how you do everything, right? But I feel like wholeheartedly, my dad and I feel like you have got to teach people that it is about reading the unit and talking to the person or the animal and reading the person and the animal. Otherwise, you're never going to get the best benefits out of it.
Yeah.
You're just really not. You have to take into effect, what are they eating? What are they feeding the animal? How often are they working out? All of those things really are going to, really affect the way that the machine is going to help them.
Yeah, from my experience, what I've seen is everything works better when you include magnetic fields. I don't care who you are. It's a non-starter for me. When in my coaching practice, when I have someone come in with whatever, long-term chronic illness, or it's mold toxicity or Lyme or anything, what we're looking at is a body that has ceased to detoxify. We're experiencing depression because there's limited blood flow to different areas of the cortex. Every single one of those things is going to be optimized. It's not going to be fixed by the magnetic field, but the body as a battery is not doing what it naturally does. And sometimes we need something to come in and do the heavy lifting. I always see it be beneficial. And I do humans much more than animals. Although I'd be interested to see if like trainers are more controlling of their horse or humans are more like dogmatic about what they think they need to be better. But it's really about releasing your fingers off the steering wheel and just shutting up and coiling. Do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah. Just oh my gosh, I really just want to try it. Like, that's why we tell all of our practitioners, demo. The first treatment is always free. We tell them, just look, you have literally nothing to lose. Like, try it. If you are listening to this podcast and you haven't tried PEMF or Magna Wave, try it. It's literally just worth trying. And I think in 20 years from now, I wholeheartedly believe almost every single person in this country and around the world will have used a PEMF device or have one. Like, the boom that we are seeing in this industry is unbelievable. And the reason for that is because our animal practitioners, like our horse people, our trainers, our owners, everybody is realizing that they have to stop with injections and drugs and the drug injection society. And it's the same thing is happening on the human spectrum. People who were never open to alternative therapies. And I don't really like the word holistic because a lot of people think that that's fake or quack if it's holistic. I like the idea of like, this is Western medicine. This is not just holistic. It is holistic. It's backed in science. So, I mean, when you have that, a lot of people are realizing that maybe their health is more important.
Mm-hmm.
Can't just, eat McDonald's and drink Mountain Dew and go, get a pain pill from the doctor and everything's going to be better. Like, that's not the reality of our society. And I think people are opening their eyes to that. And people who I never thought would be interested in PEMF are. And I think that's amazing. I mean, that's where it's going. And that's where the horse industry is going. There's a lot of regulation right now in the horse industry where they're banning some of these drugs. And recently they talked about putting PEMF, like you can't treat within 24 hours of a race, which has been standard at most racetracks.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to actually put that in as a regulation. And I don't really like that because the way that I think of it is this is what we should be pushing the trainers to do. We should be pushing these salt spas, these other microcurrent, these healthy alternatives that all work so well together, and pushing them to do these instead of injecting and taking medications. If we were, as a society and as a horse person in the horse world, really wanted them to find alternative ways and actually pushed people doing it, I think that would better the horses and the sports as a whole.
Yeah, it's incredible that people don't want to entertain that that's real. You said microcurrent. I love PEMF, but I'm a huge believer in frequency, sound therapy. And people say, what is this? Is that me sitting in front of a singing bowl? No, it's like the body has different resonant frequencies that respond in different areas that will turn things on. They'll open up channels. True. It's absolutely true. So one of my favorite stories is, and nobody ever hears about it, is Terrell Owens was a very famous receiver, and he had tore his ligaments away from the bone and the knee.
Ouch.
This is like 2004, I believe. He's in the Super Bowl, tore it in the last regular season game, and started working with this woman. I think it's Carol McCakin. And he's like, I got to play in the Super Bowl. So this is December to the first week in February. And not only did she heal his leg, well, let me say this. She gave his body the signals it needed to heal itself. He caught 3 touchdowns in that Super Bowl. Now, they didn't win. So it's my belief that because I think if they would have won, you would have heard about like this miracle recovery that, Terrell Owens went through, and this frequency specific microcurrent. You can't feel it. It's a lead. Right. It's like literally like a lead, and a lead is just like a wire wrapped in a wet towel so the frequency can go into your energetic field. You don't feel it, but the body takes that information, whatever it is, 40 hertz, 10 hertz, and it's like, yeah, let's repair some cartilage today. and it does no harm.
Right. This is the way I think about it. You're more familiar than I am, but it treats certain areas, right? It'll go in and treat that area of tissue. What I love about microcurrent and PMF together is like, you can lay on a PMF mat, you can lay on the coil and treat your body for wellness. If you have a serious injury, then you add in the microcurrent to that specific area. And you are literally giving your body every single tool it needs to heal faster. I mean, there's literally to heal itself. So using the two as a wellness program and as a healing program, they work so well together. A lot of people think it needs to be one or the other, and it doesn't. It doesn't. You can use your PMF machine, your Magna Wave machine every day, and then you can also add in the microcurrent for certain areas where you have issues, and it's amazing. Like, they work so well. Speaking of frequency, we have a low power machine that's very similar to the Beamer. It's about 25 times stronger than the Beamer. It's called the B2, and it has all of the resonance frequencies for sleep, the beta, the theta, the alpha, and it is amazing for sleeping and amazing for energy. Like, I had a baby and I was struggling with sleep. I have 3 kids. I have a full-time job. I'm running a company. I got some stuff going
You got a
on.
little bit of stuff.
And, I was maybe getting 3 hours in between feeding her. And I needed those 3 hours to be great, right? And as an adult, it's not as easy to just fall asleep and wake. I would sit there and struggle to stay asleep or fall asleep. So I've got a B2 from the office. I took it home and I started using it. And I wasn't a huge believer in low power PMF. I know it works. I know it works.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot more time. I'm a big believer in high power PMF because I've just seen things overnight. I sell a lot of high power PMF machines to people who own low power PMF machines because they know it works, but they're tired of laying on it every single day.
Yep.
They want to be able to have time in between.
Yeah.
They're like, it just ends up in a closet. But I got this, I laid it under my pillow, and it was amazing, the sleep that I had. I mean, I was going to bed, and even though I was only getting 3 or 4 hours, I was falling into REM sleep. I was getting my full sleep, and I didn't have any of the grogginess of the medication. Then I started bringing it in and putting it in my chair at work at 2:30 instead of drinking coffee or Coke.
Yeah.
Using that frequency was waking me up, and I wouldn't even notice it, that my brain was like, and I just felt better after a 10 to 15 minute treatment. So I love that machine. And it also works really well with our Wave Oasis, which is the vibration. Have you ever tried that?
Never tried it.
You could run it with your soul.
Never tried it.
Oh my God. It is my favorite product. Like, it is vibration therapy in a full body PMF mat. And you put these headphones on that are the binaural beats music that goes with the vibration. So it gets your brain with the frequency to certain indications. So they have like stress, they have depression, they have all these different settings. And honestly, again, I know that this sounds crazy, but it can make you feel like you slept all night long in a 45-minute just laying there. Like, it really does reset your brain. And I think that that's something that people need to open their minds to. A lot of people just don't see it. They don't believe in it. And I think once you sit on that Wave Oasis one time, you will get off, and just the expression on people's faces, like, oh my gosh, like, it's amazing.
Yeah. And I think, it's really interesting what you're saying. There's a couple things I think the work-life flow, I'm always looking for things that fit in my workday. So whether that is something like a vibration plate, whether it's a PEMF that has a low enough magnetic field that I can work on my computer and not worry about wiping my hard drive. Like, there's things that I'll often have like midday, or I'll schedule for myself to get in that work-life flow. And it doesn't have to be, I think people always think, that sounds awesome, but I don't have time for that. And my argument would be, like, when your brain functions egoically, I'm like, nobody's brain works like my brain. I talk to people all the time and I'm like, come on, baby, let's go. I'm waiting for them to pick up the cue of the conversation and just take off. And when you start doing this stuff, when you start working with magnetic fields, when you start eating this optimal diet, you worry about your water, the quality of your water. And I actually use my magnetic systems to structure the quality of my water, to add magnetism to water. You start, your brain is on fire, and you get done in 4 hours what a person's going to sit there and take all day to do. And that's just, we want to optimize. I want to go back to I just want to talk about bone healing a little bit, because I know from my experience with horses, when a horse broke a leg, it was usually it was a death sentence. So can you talk to what bone healing looks like with some of these machines that you use? And is there a range? I think you mentioned before, there are some of the stronger level devices that will work better with a bone fracture or break.
Absolutely. Yeah, because they penetrate all the way quicker. Low power PMF will penetrate into the bone, but it's going to take 15 to 20 sessions. And they talk about layers. You're going through the layers of the body. Well, with a high power device, you can penetrate into the bone marrow the first treatment right away. I mean, immediately you're penetrating into that bone marrow. What we found with bone injuries is that, specifically the NASA studies, that if you treat a bone, you want to treat right after a break, and then you want to give the bone about 7 to 10 days to begin the healing process. Okay. What they found is that if you begin treating with high power PMF or even low power PMF immediately after a bone injury and you continue treatment, it can speed the healing of the bone. It actually heals it. I believe it's from the outside in, and a bone is supposed to heal from the inside out. So when you do it though, if you speed the healing, the body's like, oh my gosh, we can fix this. The bone starts healing. It doesn't make it as structurally as sound. But then they found if they wait that 7 to 10 days and that bone marrow starts healing from the inside, all you have to do is let that chain, that body do it naturally. After that first session, you wait 7 to 10 days. It'll just a little bit starts from the inside. The body has started its regular way of healing the bone. Then you add high power PMF, you can cut the healing time of that bone in half and actually bring it back to structurally stronger than it would be before even. I mean, it's amazing what we have seen. So my daughter fell, she had a compound fracture. She fell at what is House of Boom off of a thing, and her bone was out. I mean, it was poking, and it was a horrible break. Ugh. And so, I mean, she went down, they reset it. She's 12 years old. It was traumatic. But when we got out, I followed that protocol with her, and the break was bad and it was amazing. The doctor was like, do you have a bone stimulator at home? And I was like, yes, I do. Basically, I do. I mean, that's what's happening.
I got her covered.
Yeah, I got her covered. And so that's amazing. Now in horses, I've seen some incredible, I think it's hard to say that you would, if a horse broke its leg, that you would ever put it back in a race.
Yeah.
But most of the time, breeding is very important in horse racing. They want the horse to survive, to be able to breed, to retire. And we love our animals, right? So I have seen dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of times where a horse has broken a leg and we have been able to get it back to full quality of life where it's running in the field, it's playing, it's able to breed, it's able to do all of those things. One practitioner, Dr. Myers, is our medical director at Magna Wave, and her spouse has a big horse farm in Texas. And they had a horse that they were told that was going to be put down. They're working with their veterinarian because it had lost the whole bottom, the hoof was gone, like almost completely gone. I mean, there was no hoof left. And I don't know, I think it got stuck or something happened where the hoof was severed. And so they actually did Magna Wave over the course of 11 months. They regrew the hoof.
Wow.
Now she's a doctor and they worked with the veterinarian. So they documented every single session, what they did, how they did, they photographed it. It's on our website. It is amazing to watch what that horse, and now the horse is not going to run in a race, but the horse is able to have a great quality of life and live at their farm happily. And usually that there wasn't any hope. I mean, at that point, the horse could not sustain.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest one off the top of my head for horses.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's always amazing to me what the body can do if it's given the right information. And I like to say this is bringing the body back into its natural state of being, horse body, human body, whatever you want to say. But that's biology. Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. The body is so benefited by magnetic fields. The other thing that I wanted to ask was, do you have some favorite dog stories with PEMF?
Oh, my God, yes.
Give us a good dog one.
Okay, so my dog was sick and I thought she was going to die at 11. She's 16 years old. And one of the things I did was change her diet and started treating her regularly. You know how the cobbler's kids never have shoes? I was not doing what I preach with my dog. Yeah. I was busy and I was just not doing it until she got sick. So seeing that, we really started pushing to dogs. And I think the biggest one for me was where this dog was told it had cancer. It was going to die. There wasn't anything they could do. It has a huge tumor, big mass on its back leg, right leg. And the leg had lost muscle tone, everything. So Dr. Marty Goldstein was working with this dog and he had just got his machine and they actually treated the mass and it shrunk literally before their eyes, like on video.
Wow.
It was amazing. Now that dog is still alive. That was like 5 years ago. So then they just kept doing the sessions. I think that's amazing. Cancer in dogs is a big one. Also, I've seen a lot of people that were told that their dog had torn the ligament in the leg, the ACL,
Mm-hmm.
where you need to have a $3,000 surgery or whatever. And I had put a pig ligament in, they said. Well, I have literally seen probably dozens of these people who love their animals, but the dog is too old to go under that type of surgery. Like, they might not survive. So then they come in and start seeing us, and the transformation in that dog being carried into our office to then that dog running around this office and pushing my door open in a meeting to get a treat is unbelievable. And that's something that we see all the time. This isn't just today or yesterday or once in a while. I don't just have one. I have hundreds of these stories of people that I met along the way. And depression in dogs, like I mentioned to you earlier, I've seen a lot. Dogs get sad. I don't know if you know this, but
I do.
I
watch when I've been away for a couple of days, and the dog's like, "What'd you do? Where you been?
Where were you?"
Yeah.
Well, especially I worked with one dog. He had a partner that he was raised with, brother and sister.
Yeah.
The sister died and the brother was not eating.
Yeah.
And so I was like, try it. Let's do it. And we started Magna Waving the dog. We did it like 2 or 3 times. And it was night and day. I mean, running, eating, sleeping.
Yeah.
I don't know what it did because I'm not a doctor. All I know is that we gave the body the tool it needed to kind of spark things back up. And it really changed this dog's life. And that dog is still with us as well.
That's amazing. So, we're saying all this, and like what it sparks for me is also my dream, my belief is that these things aren't seen as like an alternative. And I think sometimes people can say they want to throw away everything from the West, like all pills, all surgery, all medication is bad. And that's just not true. But to integrate these natural modalities that benefit the body's natural healing process into a mainstream paradigm. Like, every time I talk about this, I'm like, why do people not come out of surgery and get in a hospital bed that has a magnetic field generator to get them out of the hospital quicker?
Because the pharmacies wouldn't be able to make money.
Yes. And it's like, how do we have that conversation? Because like we're seeing today in social media, it's just like, it's so divisive and polarized. So it's just finger pointing, but it's going to take a very, very smart, lot of tact human being to come in and start this movement where you say, let's play together. Like, what does this look like? And it's going to take the right person. The people that use some of the technology I work with, they don't always want to talk about it. They don't always want to talk about it on their social profile, a big mover and shaker, Hollywood, famous doctor, yada, because
I know somebody that, I got a story.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm always like, we need you. This is the time for you to take a stand and say, this is working for me. It's made a real difference in my life. And now more than ever in the world, what a crazy world we're living in, stand up and be a champion for the things you know to be true to help the body.
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, like I said earlier with the surgery, like you can always have the surgery, right? You can always have the surgery, like go to your doctor, see what they recommend, but adding Magna Wave in before, you might be able to avoid having the surgery. So why not try? That's what you can always take your dog or yourself to have that back surgery. But who wants to do that? Why do you want it? You want to do everything you can to avoid that from happening. So adding Magna Wave or getting some sessions in there, that can take your pain away and you can avoid having that surgery. That's great, right? Yeah. That's what we're looking for. And one of the things that I think is amazing, and to your point about celebrities, is Vijay Singh bought a Magna Wave from me about 2 or 3 years ago. And he's a big golfer. He's, on the PGA, and he was struggling to get back in the game. So he actually got a treatment from an amazing guy in Jacksonville, Florida. Woody was in the PGA, and he played, and he was friends with Vijay, and he treated him. Vijay bought one of the big machines. He started using it, and within 6 months after that, he won his first tournament since he injured his back. Yeah. And I had asked him about 3 or 4 months in, I asked Woody, I'm like, will Vijay do like anything? Will he say anything on camera? Or just, talk about how this is helping him. I just want the truth. And at first he was like, his lawyer is not going to let him do anything with medical, blah, blah. And then after he started winning, all of a sudden Vijay contacted Woody back and said, I'll say something. This has changed my life. So then he gave us a statement. This helped my back so much and brought me back into the game. I bought my own. And he gave us a sentence. And then the other day he started using it, and I got a call from Woody, and he's going to do a video. He's ready to shoot a whole video. He wants to bring it on and talk about it. And he's like, and it got to the point for Vijay where he's like, people do need to know about this. It's not about making money. And I think a lot of the PMF, distributors and manufacturers, they are financially motivated, which we all have to eat, right? We all have to eat. But teaching people how to use this therapy and getting it out there, my dad and I, we set a goal. We call it our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal. 6 years ago, we decided we wanted to treat, our goal was not to make a certain amount of money. Our goal was to treat 1 million people, to bring PMF to 1 million people, to change 1 million people's lives, because the stories are the best part, like we talked about. And I think the more that you do that and you get it out there, you will be able to support yourself. You'll be fine. But taking care of people, eventually people like Vijay are going to open up and say, you know what, this does work. And they're going to come around. But most of the people who are sponsors or talking about PMF are paid to do so. And we have never done that. We don't pay people to endorse our product at all. Dr. Myers, our medical director, she works for us for years and she never had $1. She was my go-to person for medical stuff. So, she bought a machine before she ever started working with us. So I think that's where you really gain that credibility, by not paying people like that. Not paying celebrities.
I think that's amazing. Alane, I want to be respectful of your time and just ask you a couple more questions.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not in a hurry.
Beautifully Broken podcast, all about putting the broken pieces back together. What does it mean to you to be beautifully broken, to be a human being?
Okay, that's a good one. I guess, we all go through a lot in life, right? We have issues, we have stress, and whether it's death or financial or sickness, I think for me personally is like my family's been through a lot. We lost our brother, my brother 15 years ago, and he was 28 years old. And I think we could have, as a family, gone a route of drinking and commiserating and really fallen in a toxic way. And I think one of the things that is PMF was so great for our family and for me, myself, and this job, I realized that I had so much more to give. My mom had so much more to give. My dad had so much more to give. My other brother, we really realized that instead of going down that negative way, we pulled ourselves together as a family and fixed it, and we found a way to have an outlet that was healthy. And I think that is something that a lot of times when you're sad or you're hurt or you go through something, you turn to food or you turn to drinking or you turn to pills. And I like that, we're all broken. We're all dealing with these issues. And if you recognize that in other people and try to spread your light and try to do better things, you can really fix yourself internally, or at least, cover the cracks through positive enforcement, positive things in your life. And sometimes it's just easier to go, to break, to fall apart. And, putting yourself back together it's hard to do, but we're all going to have to do it. If it's not today, something is going to happen in everybody's life that breaks them. And you have to be able to pull yourself back together.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's a beautiful answer. And then my last one is, if you have a magic wand, you can wave it right now. You're looking at the state of the world. We're looking what's going on, 2020, middle of the summer. What's your wish for the world and humanity right now?
To recognize that we're all people, like we all have issues. I think where our problem is right now is there's so much of, you don't understand me and you don't understand me. And you never walked in my shoes and I've been through this. And you know what I'm saying? We're all just trying to bash one another, whether it's the Black Lives Matter movement with people, or if it's the Republicans and the Democrats, where instead of recognizing the beauty and the struggle in everybody, we're pitting ourselves against each other. And I think that if I could wave a magic wand, I would really like everybody to be able to see everybody else's issues, like literally look at what they've been through. And if you could look at somebody and see, when somebody's rude to you at the grocery store or says something mean on Facebook, if you could look at them and see, oh my gosh, they just lost their job, or their mother just died, or if everybody could really see and find that the piece of humanity, instead of just seeing what they stand for in that moment, if they could really see why they stand for that and understand it quicker, that would be the magic wand I would wave. Because really, when you get down to it, all of us want the same things. We want to be loved. We want to have a good family life. We want to have a beautiful, healthy life. And I think we just are fighting about all the wrong stuff. We're not looking at the right reasons to take care of each other anymore. And I would say, because somebody gets something doesn't mean you can't get it. like somebody else getting something, like somebody else winning something or having an award does not mean that you can't shine too. I think a lot of people don't see that. They're like, yeah, well, there's so much money to be made. And it's like, you can still make money even though that person's making money. Like everybody can have a piece of the pie. You don't have to be so selfish to take it all up. And I think that that's a beautiful thing to think about, especially if you're in business and you're a mother and you are like me, where you're doing a lot. Like you're never going to be perfect, but it's so great to see other people shine. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people just don't think that. They get jealous, and that's, it's toxic. I think we could all work on that better, seeing each other's humanity and working on, liking that other people are successful.
I love that. Seeing each other as human beings. It's definitely not the go-to response, especially I think right now it's so easy to be triggered because, let's be honest, it's scary sometimes to look around and look what's going on in the world. But to see each other as human beings is amazing, amazing advice to leave the podcast with. I really, when I was first looking into tech and PEMF, I came across a podcast with your dad.
Yeah.
And I shared it. And I shared it with a bunch of people. I was like, I want to emulate this guy right here. Because he was so open to everything. He was not challenged. There was no threatening by what else is out there or this system or that system. He's like, I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to help people because I know pulse electromagnetic fields do that. I'm not dogmatic about what you need. It's more about ask a different question, get a different answer back from your body. And he was so kind. I remember I shared it. I'm like, this guy's like Santa Claus. I mean, there's something so kind and special about him. If you've ever watched an interview and does he still do, is there a time when he's streams live on Magna Wave?
Okay. Yes. So he does live office hours every Tuesday at noon at Magna Wave PMF Corporate on Facebook or on our website, magnawavepmf.com. So he does a webinar every Tuesday at noon. We did one yesterday with Dr. Myers. Is amazing. Look, I can't tell you enough. My dad is the nicest, most forgiving, humble person I have ever come across in my entire life, like to his own detriment sometimes. Yeah. He is just a really great, when he believes in something, that's it. He really is passionate about it. And I think it just is, it's a beautiful way to go through life. And even when people have screwed us in this business, which has happened, I mean, people have stolen machines. Like Michael Davis says, they knock you off, they do all these things. But really, my dad just lets it go. Yeah. Like, he's like, this is going to happen. These people are sick. They're toxic. Yeah. Let them go ruin themselves. And it's amazing to go through with that attitude instead of being vindictive and really yes, he's live on Tuesdays. There is on Roku, there's a channel. It's called Biohacking Wellness. And if you have a Roku device, you can download it. My dad did this all himself. He put this channel together, and it is full of awesome videos on PMF. I mean, awesome videos that he's done over time. So that's really a great way. And then he just is always doing something new around the corner. So, I mean, he's excellent to really interact with. And he takes phone calls live on Tuesdays. So at 12 Eastern Standard Time. So that's a great thing to, pay attention to. I'm glad that you liked him because I'm proud of him.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, and it shows up like in the level of kindness, it shows up in the field, and I'm very woo-woo about that. It shows up in the field and it shows up how you guys treat people and how you do business. And that's why you're successful, because you do business the way you do. So I'm super appreciative we got to have this conversation, and I applaud you guys. And I look forward to, we'll do more because there's so many topics we could talk about. Magnetic fields.
We could talk about so much. We could talk so much.
I mean, people ask me very specifics all the time, and it's like, there's so many different people and so many different needs. And I think it's like, how does that fit into my life? God, I really want it. Finance for me is so big lately. I'm so into money and financing what your wellness, like your home treatment center looks like, which is like, nobody wants to leave the house. Great. Let's build it at home. I don't have the money. Yeah. I guarantee you do. I'm going to show you where it is. So we could do more. We'll do more.
And we got to do one about wine. Like, you can Magna Wave your wine.
Yes.
And make it taste so much better. Because, you said water. It's amazing. Like, instead of buying expensive wine, you just get box wine and Magna Wave it. And then it like aerates it, and it's delicious. Like, I have done that, and all these snobby wine friends of mine came over, and I Magna Wave some wine and gave it to the box wine. And they all thought it was like super expensive wine from France. And it was like not.
And we could go into the sciences, what is happening to the molecules in that wine. And actually you're making a different phase of the liquid. You're actually changing the phase of the wine, and it's fascinating. And again, it's so funny though, because people are like, "Oh, that doesn't happen." I'm like, "No, it really does happen." This
try it. I mean, what do you have to lose? Try PMF. If you are not, if you're listening to this and you haven't tried it, you have nothing to lose. Try it. We have a map on our website, magnawavepmf.com, and it will give you all the practitioners around you. And most of them do their first treatment for free. So if you are listening to this, you have an animal, a horse, yourself, your family, try Magna Wave or try PMF, period. Go get a treatment because it's worth it. It's worth it. Your time, your body, your wellness is worth it.
I love it. Well, thank you for being a guest, Alane. We'll do it again.
Yes. Let me know.
Namaste.
Thanks, Freddie. Have a nice day.
Ladies and gentlemen, you made it to the end of the podcast, and here we are at season 2. I think this is the beginning of something really beautiful. So one way to support the podcast is to head over to FREDDIESetGo.com and check out Freddie's Faves, where I've linked every 5-star product and healing modality you hear about on the show. Most offer significant discounts by clicking the link or using the discount code. Please know they don't cost you anything extra, and at the same time, they support the podcast through affiliations. So check out Freddie's Faves on FREDDIESetGo.com. My heart honestly thanks you for tuning in. And if you've enjoyed today's show, head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star review. It gives us the virtual thumbs up that we're doing things right. If you want to connect with me directly, I'm on Instagram at FREDDIESetGo or FREDDIESetGo.com through email. Now, this is a message from my vast legal team of internet lawyers. The information on this podcast is for educational purposes only. By listening, you agree not to use the information found here as medical advice to treat any medical condition in yourself or others. Always consult your physician for any medical issues that you might be having. That's it for today. Our closing, the world is hurting. We need you at your very best. So take the steps today to always be upgrading. Remember, while life is pain, putting the fractured pieces back together is a beautiful process. I love you.
If you're running a retail business, don't let disorganized order fulfillment cause chaos. Use ShipStation instead. From running a business out of your garage to multiple warehouses, ShipStation is ideal for every phase of your growth. Save time with one login for all your stores and by automating tasks. Plus, you'll get the best shipping rates from global carriers. Calm the chaos with the shipping software that delivers. Start a free trial at shipstation.com/audio. That's shipstation.com/audio.
These days, work is in trouble. We've outsourced most of our manufacturing to other countries, and with that, we sent away good jobs and our capability to make things. American Giant is a clothing company that's pushing back against this tide. They make all kinds of high-quality clothing and activewear, like sweatshirts, jeans, dresses, jackets, and so much more, right here in the USA. So when you buy American Giant, you create jobs in towns and cities across the country. And jobs bring pride, purpose. They stitch people together. If all that sounds good to you, visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order when you use code STAPLE20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with promo code STAPLE20.
James, tú siempre tan ocupado. Eres veterano y chef de familia, barbero autodidacta y cazador de sueños, y estudiante. Haces de todo. En National University apoyamos todo lo que haces. Por eso hemos creado programas híbridos y en línea que pueden ayudarte a equilibrar tu vida para que puedas enfocarte en tu objetivo. National University. Apoyamos todo tu ser. Conoce más en nu.edu/español.